What's up guys, it's Kara here, and I'm back to do another video requested from you guys, and this one really hits home to me, and it's something I wish I knew a bit more about before I started in the competition world. What I was asked for a question was how to deal with cravings, and I think it was cravings and, let me look at my phone real quick, how to deal with cravings and prevent binges, as well as dealing with low energy. So this could be for someone going through prep, or it could just be for someone who's on their weight loss journey. So you could really look at it both ways. In terms of dealing with cravings and preventing binges, we kind of can talk about them together, but I think a big part of both of these, cravings and binging during prep or during your weight loss journey, it's a lot of that can be managed through how you're approaching your prep. How you're approaching your diet. For me, I've done it both ways with If It Fits Your Macros and being on a meal plan. And when I've done the If It Fits Your Macros prep, by far, I felt like I didn't have crazy cravings. I really felt like, and that's not to say like don't have a false reality that with It Fits Your Macros you can just fit in any kind of food you want. I certainly couldn't. I couldn't go out and just have like a bacon cheeseburger and fries. That was never going to fit my fat macros. But for the most part, with If It Fits Your Macros, I had the flexibility to somehow find alternatives and to work them into my diet, find a way to make them fit my macros. Sometimes I had to get super creative with it, and other times in the depths of prep, when I was trying to get as lean as possible, you sometimes couldn't make it fit. But I felt like I had the control, I had the ability to make decisions about what foods I was eating. And with that came less cravings. It was crazy the difference I saw using that approach. It really, for me, made all the difference, and it might be different for some people. When I followed a meal plan, I felt like I craved more things, and things I normally wouldn't eat or that normally wouldn't even be food I'd want to eat, but I craved them because it was like almost everything was off limits other than meals 1 through 5 or 6 or whatever you're doing. So for me, I feel like look at the approach you're using in terms of your nutrition. That could be all the difference between why you're having so many cravings. Now, it's not to say you're not going to crave food. You are. Like, that's just normal that you're going to have cravings when you're trying to cut back and restrict to get to stage, to get to your fitness goals. It's going to happen, so just expect that. But you do need to be able to hopefully find ways to fit things in to then prevent the binging. Binging, I've had a lot of clients come to me that felt like they were on such strict diets or meal plans or such low calories for such an extended period of time that it caused them to go have binging episodes, something that made them feel very guilty and shameful, and something they didn't feel like they had emotional issues. They didn't understand why it was happening. Like, things were good in their lives. They felt happy. They liked everything else was good, but they didn't understand why this was happening, which led to a lot of guilt and shame. And, I've had a lot of girls come to me too that felt like when they voiced these things with their coaches that they weren't understanding, that it was like, you've just got to grind harder type mentality. And I guess I'm not that kind of coach. I will push you, but I've also been on the other side of things where there's a limit to where you need to be pushed and where you need to be supported through the process. And I think that's where some of the disconnect is with some of these coaches out there in what they provide their clients. But the other thing I would say, when dealing with cravings, when dealing with feelings of you're going to binge, how to manage that. If you are working with a coach, I highly encourage you to reach out to your coach, or at least reach out to someone you feel safe talking to about it, whether it's a significant other or a family member or a friend, someone who kind of gets what you're doing and why, and someone that you feel safe talking to. It's something that can be very shameful cheating on your diet, or even having episodes of binging, like, oh my God, that feels horrible. You feel horrible about it, but it's probably not going to get better unless you actually talk about it. So if you feel like your coach is someone you can talk to, and I really hope that they are, I hope that was part of your process when choosing your coach, reach out to them and let them know, like, just tell them, like, if you're having a day where you're just having bad cravings, shoot them an email and say, I'm struggling today. Like, how can I go about this? And one of the things that I feel like can help, and it's amazing, just the power of words and the power of support. But anytime I've ever felt like I fucked up, or I, did something wrong, or I don't feel good about what I did, as soon as I let it out and owned up to it and discussed it, whether it was with my coach or with my husband or my sister, I would feel a million times better. So maybe you're having cravings, and maybe your coach isn't going to say, you know what, you're having cravings today, go ahead, have a cheeseburger. But they may be able to provide you with some support, some encouraging words, some motivation that's just going to kind of help shift your mindset to be like, you know what, I am having cravings, but I want this more than I want to give into my cravings. So sometimes that's all you need too, is a little pep talk from the right people. The other thing that kind of comes along with the cravings and the binging that was also asked about was low energy and how to deal with that. So with the low energy, you've got to know going into prep, you're going to have low energy. You are kidding yourself if you think, I don't care who you work with, whether it's myself or the next person, you're going to have low energy. That's part of the process. But let me tell you, with that process, your body, you will adapt. There's an adaptability that's pretty amazing about what your body can do. It's good and it's bad to adapt to lower macros, right? Because it's harder and harder to keep your metabolism revved up and keep burning through everything and keep getting leaner and leaner. So it gets difficult. But with that low energy, you will kind of adapt and be able to push through it. One of the tips I'll give you, and you guys know I have the 12-week to bikini plan, 12-week to bikini pro plan available online. If you're not working with a coach, that's going to be a great resource for you. You guys can go there and sign up for the free week trial to see if you like it. I give plenty more tips in there. But one of the best things I can tell you to do for low energy is to be mindful of how you're expending your energy. I find that to be very critical during prep. And I've always been, I think because, I feel like I've always been very meticulous about how I spend my energy and utilize my energy during prep. And it's good to not totally cut yourself off from your social life, your friends, your family. That's absolutely not what you want to do. But you just have to be thoughtful in how you're going to use your energy and what you're going to expend it on. That's really going to depend on your lifestyle. I can only really be so descriptive with this response, but naps should become your best friend. For me, it was part of my to-do list. You have to make certain things part of your to-do list when you're in prep. And knowing where to kind of pull back and reserve your energy needs to be part of the process that you learn throughout this process. Because if you're expending too much energy, you know what? I did my cardio, but let me go do some extra cardio, even though it's not on my program, even though my coach told me I don't have to, could definitely come back to bite you, where you're feeling it the next 3 days, where you're wiped out, then you can't train as well, and then the cravings start coming on, right? So it's like this whole vicious cycle. So, if your coach is telling you to do X amount of cardio or whatever it is, then just do that cardio. Unless they want you to go above and beyond and say it's okay, then more is not better. More is not always better during prep, even though your mind kind of always thinks it should be. Depending on where you're at in your prep and how far along you are through that prep, there's a time and a place to kick it into that high gear. And you don't want to be doing that from the beginning, from the start, no matter how long your prep is. So learn how to kind of spare your energy. Naps are a good friend, and just doing I mean, I live in New York State, so it's cold winter months where we tend to not be as active here. But I can imagine people being in Florida and California and you're just active all day long, regardless of what you're doing in the gym. So, think about your lifestyle. Think about what ways you're going to kind of trim back and spare that energy, because in the end, it definitely could get you with your cravings and possibility of binging. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. Don't forget to check out karacorey.com for a free week trial there to get you going. See if you'd like that program. As always, I also am available for coaching. You guys can hit me up, karacoreyfitlife@gmail.com, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to post any questions below. I still have a good list going, but any other questions you'd like me to discuss for topics, and share this with others that might find it helpful through their prep season.